Hi everyone, this is Cedric from the campus ministry. I have the privilege and honor of talking about God and technology for tonight's midweek lesson. Now, I want to kind of paint a picture about what's kind of going on and how can we understand technology during these times. Now, it's very obvious that during this coronavirus pandemic, it's very difficult to make sense of any situation, know what is factual information, and it's really overwhelming that we're isolated, we're separated, and it's difficult to process and understand all of these things. But I hope that we as a church can really see a particular tool, technology, to strengthen our bonds with one another and really help our spirituality throughout these times. So right now, it's so important to take notice of what technology is doing. It's already been a significant and major part of our lives, but currently it's a lot of the way we see the outside world and even communicate with one another. Whether it's looking at the news, talking to a friend, or just trying to find information about anything. I think this epidemic, it really doesn't allow us to be close to each other physically when we want to be. And even just telling from last month, it can feel like a decade. Finally, it's April, but it feels like so much more is ahead of us. How do we go through these times together? Right now, I'm currently a senior at the University of Arizona, and I was really looking forward to my graduation commencement in the middle of May. Unfortunately, it was recently canceled, and at first I felt really disappointed. I was looking forward to not just one graduation ceremony, not two, but three. I was looking forward to this huge and giant celebration at Chef Wang's, which is the most delicious Chinese restaurant in town. And I was especially looking forward to all the gifts that I was possibly receiving, especially money from Grandpa and Grandma. But I think hearing the disappointment about commencement and having to go through kind of all this physical separation, I felt like I wasn't in control. And it was very anxious, made me very nervous and uncertain about my future and of those around me as well. I wanted to control these aspects of my life, and sometimes I even needed control. It really helped me, but now I feel very helpless. However, through this time and a lot of processing and praying about it, I feel like I can surrender to God. And recently, this is what I felt like I've been learning as I've surrendered to God. Let's turn over to a passage in Romans 8:28. In Romans 8:28, it says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." And I feel like if this is true, then why should we expect anything less than wanting to continue to worship God and to honor him if he's going to continue to take care of us? And so I've come to understand what technology might do to help us in this, which I call the 3 C's of technology. The 3 C's are compassion, collaboration, and community. Here I'm going to illustrate kind of a story and an aspect of each of these C's, and then one platform that can be used as an advantage or benefit for it. So, compassion. During this time, a lot of people have been texting me and calling me, seeing how I've been doing, whether it's friends and family, both within and without the church. And even my own professor had compassion and texted me. I work with him, and he just wanted to ask me how I'm doing, which was very out of the blue. One platform I really think is powerful in this is the phone. And with that I mean texting, calling, and FaceTime. Here I encourage you to text one another about what you want to discuss, maybe issues or how you can help with one another or how you're doing. Maybe you want to call or see face-to-face with something like FaceTime. Our phones are everywhere with us, and it's so easily and seamlessly easy to use. Next, I want to talk about collaboration. technology can really help us collaborate with one another. Collaboration means how can you work together? Recently, there was a natural virtual campus Devo, and it was just amazing to see different lessons, different worship songs still being sung and preached with a variety of different leaders over the nation, despite us not being physically close to one another. One platform that you can really use to collaborate or work with one another is something like Zoom or Skype. That's either on your laptop or your phone, and you can use this to work on projects together. Whether it's you want to read a book together, or hey, let's have this activity together for our next Devo, something like that. Finally, I want to talk about community. And I think this really highlights the most important thing that we can use technology for. Currently, in my neighborhood in Phoenix, where I'm currently staying, people have been using this app called Nextdoor, which is kind of a neighborhood app, to mobilize the community, to ask, how can I help you with groceries? Or are there masks or any important items that I need to buy for you or deliver for you? And even a similar platform like Facebook is also something that you can use as a community. And with these platforms and this idea, community gives you a sense of belonging. It helps to decrease that sense of isolation and overwhelming sense of loneliness. So some platforms, as I mentioned, Nextdoor, Facebook, and even Instagram. I've even seen so many other disciples post stories about their lives, whether it's testimonies or how they're wavering through this time, and even what they've been learning. I've seen just the thirst of knowledge and a deep longing sense of wanting to be close to God and with each other. You know, I really take for granted how much powerful the kingdom of God is and how eternal it is. That it's not just located in one physical space, but that it is beyond that. That it transpires and crosses over many different dimensions. Finally, I want to talk about kind of a dream, thinking about what might be beyond this whole pandemic and this situation. I want to share a quote that I've come across while I was reading about people's lives during this time. This person says, "When life is dangerous, people look after each other and communities come together. The hardness of the outside world is balanced by the softness of the inside one. Being alive never felt so real." It can really feel like God can be distant in these times. But we can really recreate and develop more of these social bonds that we have in whatever way it can be done. In the beginning, I wanted things to return to normal. But now, I can dream of a future that's better than normal, that's better than average. I've seen people share their longing for relationships with each other and God. People sharing what challenges they're overcoming, and sharing the knowledge and what they've been learning about themselves, God, and others, and just the dreams that they have. We can choose to be connected even as we are more separated. It's paradoxical, but I think it's so comforting that we can be closer even now and even afterwards. This tragedy can foster all those things I was saying earlier: compassion, collaboration, and community. Here are some questions for discussion. I've also added a resource and a list of all the stuff I've mentioned, that how you may benefit from technology. But here are some 3 questions you can discuss in your groups. 1, how fearful are you about technology? Now, some of us may be used to it, some of us maybe not, but what are you fearful about technology? Is there something it may be difficult for you to use to help your spiritual life? Is there something that you feel like you don't know how to use it to your own advantage or for others' benefit? 2, how do you feel about the current state of your job, finances, school, or whatever occupation you have, whether it's serving your family, taking care of someone, so on and so forth? Are you worried that it's not stable, that it's not going to be lasting, or you're not certain of what the future of it may be? And finally, how do you feel about your relationship with God? Do you feel like in this time you feel closer or farther away? Thank you.